I know that we have taken a look in the past at the closed climbing system with the Blake's Hitch, but I just wanted to take another look at it. This is just a super minimalistic way of setting up a secondary climbing system. So for instance, in a situation where I have my main rope over here and I'm coming from this direction, I've worked my way over to this section of the tree, it would be really nice if I could just quickly set up a secondary climbing system to make the angles easier for working over here. Of course, I always have the option of calling up from the ground for a second rope and setting up a second system that way. But I also have the option, I always have access to the end of my tail, right? The end of my rope. So that's what we're going to look at, is just how we can use the tail end of our climbing line to quickly and easily set up a secondary climbing system, okay? So I've worked my way over here. I would probably be lanyarded in, and I would just pull up the tail end of my line, okay? So let's just pretend this is a crotch here. I would take the tail through a good crotch for climbing on. The concept is, with the tail, I'm gonna come back from the end. I'm gonna tie a midline knot on a carabiner, and then with what's remaining, I'm gonna tie a hitch onto the standing end, and then behind the hitch, I'm gonna tie a stopper knot, okay? So that's the concept. So I'll just show you how I do that. I come back from the end, come back about 4 or 5 foot. 3, 4, 5, you can just do that quick. The way I like to do it is, I like a midline clove. Okay, so all you need for this system, for this setup, is one spare carabiner. And I suppose if you were really in a pinch, you could even do it without that. You could just tie directly to the bridge of your saddle, or the ring or something on your bridge. You could probably get by without even a carabiner, but as long as you have a carabiner, you can easily set up this system. So here's my midline knot on my carabiner. I still have all this tail to work with. I come up about 1 foot and I go on the standing end here. I put my thumb on here. Okay, I just go once on top of my thumb, twice on top of my thumb, like that. And then I'll go once above and twice above. Okay, I take this tail and I pass it on top of itself, right there, and then behind the standing end. Okay, behind like this, and then it pokes up through that hole where my thumb was. So that's the Blake's. Now holding it together while I tighten it, that's called dressing and setting. Okay. So the Blake's, when it's nice and tight, dressed and set properly, it's pretty rectangular, and you'll come to recognize that shape. Okay, so I'm almost done. I have my midline knot, my hitch, the Blake's. Now I have this tail remaining, and what I can quickly do is just tie a stopper knot. So I like the double overhand. So you just take an overhand knot, but then you take the tail and you go a second time through there. And now before I tighten up, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the first leg and pop it over the second leg, like that. Okay, and then tighten it up. And that gives me what we call a double overhand stopper knot. Okay, so there's my 3 knots. And now I can just clip myself in here. And what I have here is a complete climbing system, very minimalistic again. So if I want to move towards my anchor, take both hands below the hitch, and I pull, and I slide that hitch up. Okay, and you can see when I apply weight, that Blake's hitch holds my weight. So again, and if it doesn't, you got to tighten it up a little bit. Okay. So before I unlanyard to put my weight fully in here, I would want to fully test that Blake's hitch and make sure that that's holding my weight. Okay. So now I have a secondary system which is tied just in the tail of my line. The one thing to keep in mind more than anything anytime you use the tail of your rope for a climbing system is the fall of your line from your original climbing system over here is the same as the fall of the line from the secondary system, which means they meet in the middle, right? Which means on a tall tree, if my rope wasn't long enough, I would actually not have, let's say I got hurt and I wanted to bomb to the ground real quick, I wouldn't have enough slack in either system to get to the ground. Before I got to the ground, I would bottom out and these two ropes would meet and I would be stuck there in a loop of rope between these 2 points. And I would actually have to untie this, which if you were injured, it might be very difficult, right? So that's the main thing to keep in mind when you're hooking up a secondary system. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you can get some value out of that basic concept. Again, very minimalistic, but essential to know, right? Essential. So, all right, till next time.